my glam girls, welcome back to my channel. It's Chelsea, where we talk about all things glam and all things girly. So first, you might notice that I'm in a different setup. I am officially in my makeup room and I love it. I still have a little more work to do. So I'll be working out the kinks as we continue to move forward. But today is not about the makeup room. It is about this beautiful brand that we call LYS Beauty, or Love Yourself Beauty. So I have already done a first impressions on this brand. Today I want to do a full day wear test, really put all of the products to test, see how they wear throughout the day, and then of course give you a more well-rounded perspective on the brand, especially with how the products work throughout the length of a workday. So that's what we will be doing today. Thank you so much for taking your time and clicking on my video. If you are not subscribed to my channel, I really hope that you will consider subscribing and joining the Glam Girl Squad. And let's just get right into this video. Okay, so we are doing a full day wear test on the foundation, but we are also doing a full day wear test on the powder, the bronzer, and on the blush. I also have the lip oil, which I love. I think it's really great and soothing to the lips. It's in my purse and I just don't feel like going to get it. But I really enjoy the formula of the lip oil. I've been using it now for going on 2 weeks, and I really like how it hydrates my lips. I love the shine that comes with it because it's a lip oil, but it also has a lip gloss effect on the lips, and I think it's a really, really great product. So with the foundation, I originally purchased shade TG5, which stands for Tan Golden 5, and that shade was a little too light. So I purchased TG6, and that's what I'm actually wearing on my face now. In this clip, you'll see me applying both shades onto my skin, and you can see the difference of the tone of the foundations. Both of these foundations do take on a warmer undertone, and both of the foundations are slated for tan and olive skin tones. It's just the depth of warmth that's going to be the difference between the two shades. I personally do enjoy TG6 on my complexion a little bit more, but if I'm being really honest, mixing both TG5 and TG6 would probably give me my perfect shade. I do think that TG6 is just slightly, ever so slightly, a hair too warm, and this is with me not having a tan, so I think TG6 will be perfect for the summer months coming up. If you are slightly deeper in complexion than I am, then I think TG6 will be a really good shade match for you. If you are slightly lighter than I am, then I think TG5 would be a really good choice for you. So if you're around my complexion, it depends on how you like your foundations to wear. If you like them to be a little lighter, then go with TG5, because I can wear TG5, I can pull it off and make it work. It's not so light that it looks stark. But TG6 is definitely better for my complexion. Just slightly, ever so slightly, a little too warm. I've worn this foundation now, a good 4 or 5 times, and I really enjoy the formulation of this particular product. It's got tons of healthy ingredients in it, and with one pump, I can usually cover my whole face. I do believe that this foundation, if you use a good pump, you're gonna come off with light medium coverage with a natural type of finish on the face. And as you can see from the application, it looks very natural on the face, not too dewy when applied to the skin, but definitely not too matte at all. There is a primer with this particular collection, but I did not pick up the primer. I went in with something that I'm very familiar with, and it's the Tula Face Filter Blurring and Moisturizing Primer. So I didn't want to use a primer that was going to, add any type of luminosity or overly mattify the skin, so that you could get a better representation of how the product looks on the skin. I do think if you want to build this foundation up to a good solid medium coverage, you can. It is a buildable formula. So depending on how you like to wear your makeup, you could wear this foundation with lighter coverage, or you could wear this foundation with a more solid medium type of coverage of foundation. I think that this foundation is an excellent everyday type of foundation. It's very lightweight on the skin. You do not feel it when you first apply it, and I think it settles really nicely into the skin. For concealer, I went in with my favorite concealer, the YSL Touche Éclat Radiant Touch Concealer. I have the shade 5. I am very familiar with how this concealer works, so I went in with that just to keep some type of consistency with the product or with my face. And after I blended that in, I went in with the powder. So one of you guys offered this suggestion and I was like, thank you, because that's great. One of you all said, hey, how does the LYS Beauty setting powder compare to your favorites? And I was like, good question. And then they took it a step further and said, hey, why don't you do a side-by-side comparison? And I said, you're amazing, I'm gonna do that. I put on this side of the face, and as you can see from the demo, the LYS Ambition setting powder. So this is a setting powder for medium tan skin. So I set my under eye and right along here with the LYS Beauty setting powder. And then I went on this side of the face and I went in with my tried and true Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder in the shade medium. And once again, set this area of the face and so on. With both of these powders, I think both of them are very lightweight. They blend nicely into the skin and they feel undetectable on the skin. One of the main reasons why I love this product. I've been wearing this face now for 5 hours, and based upon how everything looks, y'all, I am quite shocked. I think the LYS side has blurred my pores slightly more than Char Girl. I'm quite blown away. I was like, wait a second. Because this Charlotte Tilbury powder is a strong $45. Strong $45. And because it's so lightweight in its formula, you go through it very quickly. And so I was like, somebody's trying to come for Char Girl. From just looking at my face, I think both sides look amazing. I think both sides look very flawless in terms of how both powders work. I think I have about the same amount of perspiration around both nostrils. I might have just a little more dew around the Charlotte Tilbury side compared to the LYS Beauty side. I do think that this powder is going to be more mattifying than the Charlotte Tilbury side. So I think if you have extremely dry skin, I would go with the Charlotte Tilbury powder just off what I'm seeing now, because it is so lightweight. It doesn't sit heavy at all on the face, and it really doesn't look like you're wearing powder. So if you have extremely dry skin, you just might prefer the Charlotte Tilbury powder. However, I think the LYS Beauty powder is a really good powder. And it's very interesting because a lot of times with pressed powders, the formula tends to be more dense. And so it tends to look heavier on the face. It looks very apparent that you have powdered your face. And especially when it comes to that delicate under eye area, it's very apparent if you have used pressed powder versus a loose powder. I think that's where the magic of the Charlotte Tilbury comes from, because it is a pressed powder, but it mimics a loose powder on the face. I think the LYS Beauty powder in its formulation is excellent because under the eye, it does not look heavy as if I am using a pressed powder. So far, I really do like this powder. I've been using it very consistently since I received the products, and it is definitely a powder that I don't mind reaching for multiple times. And that's just me wanting to reach for it. Moving on to the bronzer. So I have the bronzer in the shade Courage. Really enjoy this bronzer. I think the formula blends very effortlessly and very smoothly onto the skin, and I love the color of this bronzer. It is a very neutral to cool tone bronzer, and I think it just complements my skin tone and my complexion very well. I can definitely chisel out the cheeks if I want to with this bronzer, or I can go in with a more fluffy brush and just give me a diffuse amount of color, but it's not gonna show up on my complexion overly warm or overly stark, overly red. It's just gonna really aim to bronze the skin. And like I said, the formulation of this powder is very smooth, especially to the touch. and when applied to the face. I've worn this bronzer on unpowdered skin, and I've worn this bronzer on powdered skin, and I think it works very well on both. I will say when my skin has been unpowdered, it is not overly dewy. I think because this particular bronzer is quite pigmented, I think if you are the type of person who doesn't like to set your foundations and things like that, make sure that your base is not overly sticky, because I do think because it is quite pigmented, it could definitely grab onto a sticky base, and then that would make it harder to blend. Make sure that your base is not sticky. I would say if you aren't gonna set the face, make sure that your face has more of a natural finish and not an overly dewy type of finish. And I think that just goes to be said with any type of powder product. But I really I've been reaching for this bronzer. Between this bronzer and Danessa Myricks Cream Contour, I'm set. I am set. And then lastly, we have the Cream Matte Blushes. So today I'm wearing the shade Inspire on the cheeks, and I cannot get enough of how beautiful, number one, the shade is, but also the formulation is just as well. So you can blend out this particular blush with your fingers. It blends very beautifully into the skin. You can blend this on unpowdered skin as well as powdered skin, which those are my favorite types of cream blushes to use. And so for today, I'm a brush girl. I just prefer to use blushes if I have the option. So I went in with the Rephr 17 brush, and I do think if you're going to use a brush to blend out the cream blush, use a very densely packed brush or some type of stippling brush. These blushes are definitely pigmented, just like the bronzer. They do not lack in that area. So whenever I do tap my brush into the compact, I tap it also on the back of my hand to, number one, to tap off the excess that would be too much onto the cheeks. But I also tap it on the back of my hand to fully distribute the color onto the brush. And then when I go to apply it to the skin, I do tapping motions, as you see in the demonstration, to apply it onto the skin. Number one, I love applying all of my cream products like that because it does not disturb the cream products underneath, or if I did already set the face, it's not gonna pick up those products. So I don't have to worry about patchiness and things like that on the skin. But the beautiful thing about this formula is that I can literally blend it out just with these tapping motions. There's no need to have to swirl to really blend out the product. And that makes the formula amazing to me. I did not go over the blush and set it after I applied it. And so in tapping the skin, the blush definitely feels like it has set. There is literally no tack left onto the skin. And looking at my finger after I do this, I don't see any type of pigment coming off on the cheeks. For having the blush on for 5 hours, I think the blush is definitely holding up very well. Since I've applied all of my makeup, I have gone out to the store. I had my mask on for probably about 30 minutes, and I was talking through my mask. And I really am happy to say that I don't see any type of demarcation lines. I don't feel like the makeup came off too much to where you can tell I've had a mask on. It did transfer onto my mask, but not a lot. I feel like for the most part, my makeup is still on my face. So I'm very happy with that. So going back to the foundation, I forgot to do flash photography before I applied all of my makeup. So I do apologize for that. I prefer to do that type of test after I apply the foundation and it sets without concealer and powder. However, I forgot. So I still did take flash photography because typically you're not gonna take a picture without all of your makeup done. So I felt like it still could be helpful. And as we can see, there is no flashback with the foundation, and also there's no flashback with the setting powder, which is great. So if you do like this formulation and you did want to wear this foundation in a setting where you would be having flash photography, you do not have to worry about this. I did a swatch on the back of my hand with the foundation in the shade TG6. It's been sitting on the back of my hand for about 15 minutes because I wanted to see if there was any sign of the foundation oxidizing. So this wide swatch right here is what I applied onto the skin about 15 minutes ago. And then the bulb that you see here of foundation is what I just applied to the hand. And based on what I could see, I would say that this foundation oxidized a hair. It just oxidized just a little bit, but not enough to where you need to go down a whole shade because it's going to completely change color onto the skin. So I would say in this case, the foundation barely oxidizes. It's probably not even enough to really talk about because it's not enough to move you to a completely different shade as compared to some other foundations that do tend to oxidize a whole shade deeper. So I am going to finish out my day and I will check back in at the end of the day and share with you my final thoughts. So stay tuned for all of that. I'll see you at the end of the day. It is the end of the day and I've had this foundation on and this full face of makeup on for 10 hours. I'm tired. So let's just talk about how everything is looking. Honestly, after 10 hours of wear, I think this makeup held up extremely well. I firmly believe that this makeup is definitely for everyday wear and can always count on the makeup performing exactly how they want it to perform. That has been my experience with this makeup when I've been wearing it time and time again. The foundation, I always expect it to last throughout the day because I have worn this foundation in other settings and it holds up very well. So I have a smile line right here and I do have a little bit of settling of the foundation into the smile line, but not a lot at all. I think with the amount of talking that I've done today, I've worn my mask multiple times throughout this day. I feel like the makeup is held up across my face very well. As far as the blush, you can definitely still see my blush after about 10 hours of wear. So the blush is long lasting, which I'm really excited about because sometimes with cream blushes, especially if the formula is really emollient, it can fade quite quickly on the cheeks. These blushes have some really good lasting power. I would say the same for the bronzer. And checking in on the powder, I still say that the LYS Beauty powder side definitely is still blurring my pores a little bit more than the Charlotte Tilbury side. So I think that has been the most shocking resolution in this full day wear test because other times that I've worn the LYS Beauty powder, I haven't worn it compared to another powder. So you know, I haven't really seen for myself like which powder is better and which powder I like better. I really enjoy them both, but I'm like, well, okay, well, LYS, let's go ahead and blur the pores more. I am so here for this brand. I just can't wait to see more from the brand. I'm excited that their first launch, in my opinion, was a huge success because not only did the brand come out with products that were really formulated to have our skin's best interest in heart, but the brand also came out with products that they feel will really work for a plethora of people and a plethora of complexions and skin types. And I think these products really will work well for any skin type and any body. In terms of how I like to wear the foundation, I like to wear it with some type of luminizer underneath. So before I receive the TG6 shade, which is the shade that I'm currently wearing, I would take the Auric Glow Lust and apply that onto the face first. And then I would take shade TG5 and put it on top. And the Auric Glow Lust helped to add a little bit more warmth to my complexion. And then also it gave the foundation a little bit more dew and radiance. So I think this foundation, as it wears throughout the day, it wears very natural. I would even say that it would probably, it tends to wear more matte, especially after you set it. So for me, if I want a little bit more glow from the foundation, I'll just go in with some type of luminizer or maybe more of like a hydrating primer, and it'll give me that radiance that I want. I don't feel like this foundation will be too dry for dry complexions or dry skin types, but I would suggest use a hydrating primer or go in with one of your favorite luminizers so that you can make sure that you have the hydration that you want throughout the day. Those are my observations with the foundation, that as it's wearing throughout the day, it doesn't get excessively dewy or anything like that. So if you want that extra radiance or boost, just go in with another primer to do that, which also makes this foundation really great for people with combo skin and oily skin. It's not gonna get overly oily on you, and as you can see after 10 hours of wear, the only type of dew that you really can see is coming from around my nose. And compared to how this looked 5 hours ago, last time you saw me, it pretty much looks the same, maybe with a little bit more dew, but it pretty much looks the same. And this is what I've noticed the other times that I've worn this foundation, that at the end of the day, everything still looks really nice. My face still looks really put together, and there's no, you know, excessive wear of the makeup, which I think is really impressive for makeup that can be categorized as everyday makeup. Because typically with everyday makeup, at least the ones that I'm just kind of thinking of right now, they tend to fade nicely, fade graciously throughout the day. And I really love that these products do not fade. They are here to stay, they are here to play, yet they feel so comfortable, so lightweight on the skin. You really don't feel like you really have anything on your face, which is awesome. So this brand gets 2 thumbs up for me. Let me know if you have any questions down below, if there's anything that I did not answer for you in this video. And if you've made it to this point in the video and you have not yet subscribed, I would truly appreciate you considering subscribing and joining the Glam Girl Squad, because we'd love to have you. And guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in my very next video. Bye guys.